The strands of my fate drew me forward, pulling me toward a once far-off land whither I was not yet ready to go. My destiny now lay in the lone lands, and past there I knew not where. Beyond the borders of the Bree-land dwelt the recesses and folds that hid the unknown. Perhaps it was oblivious, or perhaps it anticipated my arrival. I felt this unignorable sensation, yet clung stubbornly to the final threads of this land's tale. In the absence of another, it would be my hand to weave them into a conclusive story. One of these threads again led to Buckland, a somewhat benign visit to the alert Hodrick Bracegirdle to collect a medicinal salve for the caring Leecher Cartwell, all at the behest of the grasping Bruna Stouchthrush, preluded a momentous adventure, one which would go on to shape my leadership while holding a mirror to Humphrey and I's own shortcomings. My fooling estimations of Bruna's character descended farther after my meeting with Hodrick.
Can't a body be left alone?
Strong words were used to describe him. Hodrick had clearly lost a wager with Bruna in the past, which was now being milked for all it was worth. Free salve from Hodrick to be sold to Leecher for a tidy profit. Certainly morally skewed, selfish and opportunistic, but no worse than that. Even so, were it not for his shenanigans, I may not have learnt of the deep evil regathering within the old forest. As I went to leave Buckland, I was hailed by Sheriff Hob Hayward.
Please, stay a moment.
While my previous controlling of its aggressive wildlife had been effective, the old forest had not ceased to spawn such malicious creatures. With even some hobbits being attacked, the ingenious bounders, who I was now beginning to understand as local guards or protectors, had concocted a specific brew that was known to dissuade the wildlife from approaching, a solution in both ways. They just needed me to place them along the road to an area of the forest they named the Bonfire Glade. Presumably, this would at least keep the path safe. My approach reminded me of how daunted I had once felt, looking on at the dominating tree line, ancient, crooked, and dwarfing the hedge which in normal circumstances would be considered tall. The reminiscence was fleeting though, and excluding a few ambushes of a canine persuasion. The operation was completed without any real struggle. Like an old friend, I felt that I had become familiar with the forest's tendencies and felt more comfortable than ever amongst its great boughs. This feeling was quickly put under scrutiny.
Just a moment. Might I have a word with you?
Hob believed that something strange was behind all this increased aggressiveness, liking it more akin to panic. As the bounders were already busy enough, he asked if I could look into the matter, pointing me toward a hobbit who knew more of the forest than most others. Marigold Boffin eagerly leapt at the opportunity to help the bounders and spoke of strange tree-like creatures that immediately drew to my mind the living trees I had already fought. However, the information that the usual wildlife kept its distance made me wonder if they were not more similar to the corrupted trees I found infesting the meeting point between the old forest and the southern Barrow Downs.
So, the bounders need our help? Well, I reckon I know where to start our search.
Either way, I was excited to accompany the brave hobbit on her little quest.
At least we won't be spending another second stuck in Buckland. The denizens of the old forest stir restlessly, unnerved by lately appearing strange creatures. Aware of the danger this poses to Buckland, Marigold Boffin has brought you to the forest to further investigate. Oh, don't worry. I know the old forest like the back of me hand.
Marigold and I felt equally lucky that we managed to penetrate into the woods so far without any violent encounters. But as we neared the site where she had seen the strange creatures, a group of expected wolves struck. Marigold proved herself a valiant fighter and a stout wielder of her wooden club, though I naturally felt concerned for her safety. This concern deepened as we met a wholly unexpected foe. Fell spirits thought to have come from the Barrow Downs, though they were unlike any I had faced there. My lack of experience fighting alongside others who weren't Humphrey, combined with the unearthly shrieks and potent magic of the spirits, made me deeply worried for Marigold's livelihood. I tried my best to interpose myself between my allies and our enemies, but had no certain way of keeping their focus on me. Thankfully, the spirits soon fell at our hands, and we were all mostly uninjured. It was then that we found the creatures Marigold had spoken of, and the true danger of our quest was revealed.
Wait, I see the tree creatures over there.
The tree creatures were wholly unlike anything we had so far faced. They stood several feet taller than me, had pale skin, a strong sinewy build, and grotesque heads, neither beast nor man. Most horrifying was the wooden roots-like growths sprouting from their feet, arms, and heads. The evil powers responsible for the creation of such abominations should be ashamed. It was a duty to see such mockeries slain.
We ought to listen to their conversation. It might help us figure out what is going on.
Excellent. The Gaunt Lord will be satisfied. Once he gets what he wants, this forest will be ours. Do not disappoint me.
Come on, this is our chance! You won't ruin this forest! Not while you're here.
The roots of their limbs hardened their attacks and seemed to thicken their skin, but we embodied the woodcutter and hacked the pair down. Thankfully, Marigold's cool-headedness temporarily stayed my revulsion, and we were able to learn that the spirits, or shades as they called them, had been attracted here by a sword, apparently to the satisfaction of someone they titled the Gaunt Lord. If he got what he wanted, the old forest would supposedly be theirs. I could feel the judgment from the great silent trees all around, and felt a strong desire to act on their behalf. If the creatures of the woods stayed clear of these monsters, I could hardly believe that the trees would welcome their presence.
Well, this day keeps getting stranger and stranger.
Undaunted by our expanding task, Marigold suggested we seek out Tom Bombadil for aid. The forest animals were already enough for the Bounders, so we would focus on the flocking shades and the tree men seemingly behind the unrest.
Let's leave before another ghost shows up.
As always, Tom's house was a welcome sight. I did not strongly question how Marigold came to know Tom, which spoke to the way she carried herself, her bravery, and her knowledge of the surrounding area. Here, the roaring fire warmed the chill in my bones, and Tom's melodious voice soothed my spirit.
A fellow tall, a cruel sword, the wicked dead a-calling. By my boots, both I've spied, close by Old Man Willow.
He unveiled the identity of the tree men, naming them trolls,
Seek you to break the sword, old Tom won't stop you.
and highlighted the area surrounding Old Man Willow as significant. He warned me of the Willow's dangerous song having become darker, but then put his full faith in Marigold, trusting her to not lead us astray.
Wood trolls? Well, that's a first for me.
She was as surprised as me to learn that the aforementioned creatures were trolls, and as proud as I to learn that that was what we had defeated. She was confident of our numbers for whatever was to come, and prepared to join Humphrey and I to Old Man Willow, unless we would rather go with others. While I briefly dwelt on those who would possibly join an expedition such as this, or more accurately, the lack of them, I couldn't help but think of Gilliman Brandybuck. The knowledge of these tree trolls and their increased activity made me worry for the Hobbit forester who often camped deep within the old forest. Before I joined Marigold, I would warn him of the danger. He had been a valuable source of information concerning the corrupted tree that was initially breeding hostility amongst the forest's woodland beasts, and I had to make sure he was safe. The ride was not long, and thankfully the end found Gilliman well as ever. his camp a disparate morsel of halfling life swamped by the surrounding primeval, murky woods.
Might I have a word with you?
My warnings of the tree trolls did not sway Gilliman's decision-making. In fact, he was still concentrated on the spiders in the east of the old forest.
Can I take a moment of your time?
When I was last there, it was to cut down the corrupted tree spreading evil throughout the woods. Here, I had also curbed the large number of spiders, one of which was the brood matron herself, Lebrenil. This fortunately meant I was able to report back these good tidings now,
Just a moment.
as the spider numbers and their brood matron were chief amongst his concerns. Unfortunately, I still had the small trek to make, as during his own explorations, Gilliman had been forced to drop his pack while escaping the arachnids. I found Gilliman's campsite easily enough, as he had had no time to take it down. My overconfidence toward the area's safety was quickly checked by an ambush of some of the forest's remaining spiders. Surprising, but not threatening, we soon had the pack in hand.
What do you need?
Gilliman appeared to believe the spiders might be inherently evil. He was unwilling to disturb the natural order, but questioned whether that was indeed what the spiders were. His knowledge that they had appeared from nowhere supported the idea that they might be possibly related to evil's stirrings almost everywhere else. My ride back to Marigold helped me structure my thoughts and concerns. I decided that I knew of nobody else to aid our fight against the tree trolls and their leader. It would have to be Marigold, Humphrey, and I. I was not sure Marigold's presence would be necessary, but she was infectiously excited to help, and I refused to demean her value by not allowing her to accompany us. However, I was aware that this might split my attentions. The obvious and straightforward one of defeating the enemy would be distracted by my unwillingness to allow Marigold's wicked attacks to draw their attention. I decided to change my strategy. Humphrey's decisive actions in the defeat of the brigand Dirk Hawthorne, while we worked to help Adzo Haybank, still remained as a strong reminder of his skill. His reliability since had solidified my faith in him. While before my efforts had been much divided by a fear of Humphrey's livelihood, I now knew that he was able to fend for himself, sometimes even coming to my own rescue. While my inspiring words were effective in maintaining Humphrey and even Marigold's morale, it was clear that preventative measures were far more useful than remedial ones. If I could draw the enemy's ire onto myself, I would not have to worry about the safety of my friends. Instead of dividing my attention, sometimes having to lead from the side, I would be in the thick of the action, and that was where I would begin to make my home. It was here that the style of my leadership was decided. I did not know it at the time, but it was never again to change. Old Man Willow awaited the birth of a reforged captain of Middle-earth. The tree trolls were to be the first to suffer my hardened resolve and mirth in the face of chaos.